Full disclosure, this product was provided by the manufacturer for review. However, all opinions of the product are of my own and are not influenced by anyone. Enjoy the video. One of the biggest reasons people choose a console, such as the PS4 and Xbox One, over a PC is due to the large size of a standard tower and the lack of portability. They don't want to drag around a huge and heavy PC with them if they want to play at a friend's house, for example. With the Note 202, did Fractal finally make a computer case that can compete with the consoles? Before we begin, I'd like to note that this is a review mainly focused on the computer case itself. A review for the actual build, parts, and performance will be coming soon, so be sure to keep a lookout for that. Let's start with the physical design and features. This is one of the best looking, if not the best looking, console-sized computer case I've ever seen. With blacked out front USB 3.0 headers, a white power LED, a subtle Fractal logo, and a simplistic design, this case would look nice in every living room scenario. Something I can't say about most small computer cases. For a size comparison, the Note 202 is slightly larger than an Xbox One, coming at 3 1/4 inches tall, 14 3/4 inches wide, and 13 inches long. But keep in mind that this does not have an external power brick like the Xbox One does. It is quite a bit larger than the PS4 though. Its small size allows it to be put nearly anywhere you'd put a console, like the shelf of a TV stand or a small desk. The case also comes with a stand to make it stand up vertically, but honestly looks kinda awkward that way, especially because of the horizontal Fractal design logo. Before you place it horizontally though, be sure to attach the adhesive rubber feet to the bottom of the case, which are of course included. Also included are the basic necessities such as zip ties, the screws for the power supply, motherboard, and 2.5-inch drives, and more that I'm probably forgetting right now. There is something a bit more interesting included though. There's a riser for the GPU to be installed horizontally instead of the standard vertical installation. This effectively makes the case much more small and compact while being able to contain the most powerful of GPUs. I'll demonstrate the GPU installation in a bit though. As for hardware compatibility, this case can only support mini ITX motherboards, 2.5-inch drives, and SFX power supplies. I also forgot to mention that I have the model that comes with the Integra 450 watt power supply. Though if you don't think 450 watts is enough, you can also buy the case by itself and buy the Silverstone 600 watt, which I'd recommend if you're planning to use something like a GTX 970 or higher. Since I'm using a GTX 960 though, 450 watts was just fine for me, even while overclocking it to 1530 MHz. Now onto what people are probably wondering the most. How easy is it to build in a case this small? I've built a mini ITX system before in a Corsair 380T, which is much bigger than this case, and I still had difficulty working in it. I was sure this was going to be even harder since it's so much smaller, but to my surprise, it was actually much easier. There were cutouts for cables to pass through and cable tie-down points in every spot I needed them to be. There's a good chunk of space right in front of the power supply, which is perfect to stuff all the extra cable length you have, which is going to be handy due to the super long USB 3.0 cable. I mean seriously, this thing is almost twice the size as I think it should be. And it really gets in the way since it's really hard to bend and stuff away into small places. The 2.5-inch drive is mounted into a really clever place. There's a small housing for it to screw in, and then it fits right over the railing which divides the GPU. It takes up an extremely small amount of space while still being able to handle 2 drives. Props to Fractal for thinking of that one. Now I want to talk about my favorite part of this case, and that's the whole GPU chamber, which takes up nearly half of the case. I'm honestly impressed by the way they managed to fit a full-length GPU into such a tiny case. As I mentioned before, there's a PCIe riser card that goes into the motherboard and fits through a cutout for the GPU to be installed on the other side. After the GPU is installed though, it's extremely wobbly and unstable. Fractal did think of a solution though. They've included a little GPU support bracket that could be adjusted to fit your specific card. It does a great job at holding the GPU in place so it doesn't damage the PCI slot, especially when moving the case around. The support bracket can be removed though to fit an extra 120mm fan in its place, but I really wouldn't recommend doing that due to the graphics card wobbling so much. Speaking of fan installation, you could put up to two 120mm fans right below the GPU, though as I mentioned, one would have to be removed for the support bracket. There's also ventilation cutouts for the power supply, graphics card, and right above the CPU cooler, all of which come with nice little magnetic dust filters. Overall, the temperatures in the case were actually pretty good. The attached feet at the bottom of the case help it get off the ground for a solid amount of intake. The GPU ran at around 65 to 67 degrees, and when overclocked to its limit, it was around 74 to 78 degrees Celsius. I also wanted to mention that I got a locked processor using the stock Intel CPU cooler, since I didn't want too much hot air flowing around in such dense space. It did stay at a nice 64 to 67 degrees Celsius while playing a game though. So, in conclusion, there were a few questionable decisions such as the sacrifice of a 120mm fan if the graphics card support bracket is installed, which I think is mandatory anyways, and the long USB 3.0 cable. Other than that, the amazing design, full-length GPU compatibility, and the overall ease of building in it makes it the best console-sized mini ITX case out there, not only for an HT PC, but for any powerhouse rig. Well, that's pretty much all I had to say. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, share with your friends, and share your thoughts in the comment section below since I always try to respond. This is Phantom Tech, and I'll see you in my next video.